and welcome tonight. Nigerian military intensify air bombardment in Baga, Borno State. Army arrests fleeing terrorists who disguise as women. National Human Rights Commission chairman throws weight behind deployment of military during the elections. Federal High Court to begin hearing of the certificate controversy of General Muhammadu Buhari. France confiscates passports of citizens planning to travel to Syria.
On business news tonight, federal government subsidy reinvestment program billed to be a key driver of the economy.
While on sports news, Nigeria's Super Falcons resume camping in Abuja as preparations for the All-Africa Games qualifiers begin.
We'll begin tonight with security. The heat seems to be turning fast on terrorists in Baga, Borno State, as the military appears to have taken full control of the terrorist haven. Reports from the military headquarters say that the Nigerian Air Force has continued pounding strategic Boko Haram locations, forcing their leaders to flee. The Director of Defense Information, Major General Chris Olukolade, told journalists that the military has captured some terrorists who disguised as women in the attempts to escape heavy gunfire. The Nigerian Air Force says it is stepping up air raids on identified targets in Gozo, Baga and Sambisa forests, preparatory to the next phase of the mission. Also today, the military released a video of aerial bombardment of members of Boko Haram believed to be in hideouts in the northeast of Nigeria. The video you're looking at now, which was sent to Channels Television, shows aerial bombardments of a community believed to be controlled by the set. According to the Director of Defense Information, the operation is part of the strategy of the military to fully dislodge Boko Haram. And in the video, if you look closely, people can be seen running in different directions as the Air Force continues airstrikes in the area. Meanwhile, the death toll in the Potiskum suicide attack in the state has risen to 6. A blast which occurred on Sunday left the female suicide bomber and 4 others dead. Security has now been tightened at the GSM markets and the road leading to the area has been cordoned off. Speaking to Channels Television at the hospital where the injured were taken, one of those affected said the attack by the female suicide bomber occurred at the same market where authorities have banned women.
When she just bring the hand inside that liquor over the food, hijab, she just press me, look my face. At 3 seconds, she look my face and bring that black thing out. When I just see him, so before I get whistle, before I remove it to this thing, the girl she already entered, but she will not pass where I did. There is many people under the tree, they have small case where they judge the case. So when I just shout, now she just press the thing. I hear boom. I know they see, I know they hear.
The account of one of the survivors of Sunday's attack. Staying with security, President Goodluck Jonathan today received his counterparts from the Republic of Congo and Equatorial Guinea. Presidents Denis Nguesso and Teodoro Mbasogo were fulfilling conditions stated by ECOWAS at the last summit in Cameroon. The 3 presidents reviewed the current security challenges facing the West African and Central African regions, especially terrorism and the menace of the insurgency by Boko Haram. They condemned the insurgency as destructive activities such as indiscriminate killing of peoples, the wanton destruction of property, the abduction of innocent women and children, especially young schoolgirls who are being used as sex slaves. They underscored the importance of a multi-pronged approach to fighting the terrorist group and commended the initiative of the member states of the Lake Chad Basin Commission for a multinational joint task force to combat Boko Haram. And it appears debate on the deployment of soldiers for the conduct of the general elections may not end soon. The latest opinion on the matter comes from the chairman of the National Human Rights Commission, Professor Chidi Odinkalu, who has backed the call for troops to take charge of security to ensure hitch-free polls. Professor Odinkalu told our political correspondent, Seun Okinbaloye, in an interview that Nigeria is currently in a state of war, which justifies such action in line with the Geneva Convention Act. Some Nigerians have kicked against the deployment of the military for the exercise based on a court judgment against the move.
Do you think that we need military deployment for the 2015 general elections?
Yes. Absolutely, yes. You see, I'm not a politician. I will not be a politician. People are not reading the full panoply of laws that are applicable. Part of the laws we've got to read, let me remind everybody who's listening to this, is the Geneva Conventions Act. The Geneva Conventions are applicable in Nigeria. And that includes Common Article 3 of the Geneva Conventions with respect to the protection of civilians in conflict, in armed conflict. Now, in 2013, as far back as 2013, the International Committee of the Red Cross, which supervises the operation of the Geneva Conventions, decided that Nigeria, determined independently of Nigeria's government, that Nigeria was in a non-international armed conflict. That's a civil war. In 2013, the Office of the Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court decided that Nigeria is in a civil war. In February 2014, the National Human Rights Commission determined that Nigeria is in a civil war. We cannot in 2015 deny that Nigeria is in a civil war. We don't have the assets to protect all of Nigeria. If you were to deploy just police and deploy what else? Civil defense. You don't have the assets. Let's be honest about this. We don't have the assets to protect all of Nigeria for these elections, given the fact that we're fighting a war. We have to be honest about it. And we've got to ask ourselves as Nigerians, how do we elevate this conversation beyond who captures power and who takes it and who holds it? How do we do the best for our people? No judge should confuse you and tell you, oh, you know, on that day I will protect you because I can write a judgment. They won't. No lawyer, no senior advocate should confuse you. Oh, you know, we know the law. At the end of the day, it is the commander-in-chief and the governors who swear to an oath to protect the people. And they have to be honest with themselves and say, okay, so you take the army out of the equation, right? In a country that is fighting a war, in which in 1 year alone, you had more mortality than Iraq and Afghanistan put together, in which in the last month, we've lost over 4,000 people, and you are saying you're going to have elections in which your best equipped people are going to be staying in the barracks? I will not vote in those elections.
The chairman of the National Human Rights Commission, Professor Chidi Odinkalu. To electoral matters now, the People's Democratic Party and the All Progressives Congress have opposed a suit challenging the decision by the Independent National Electoral Commission on the use of electronic permanent voter cards and electronic card readers for the 2015 general elections. The suit, which was filed by the Society for Advancement and Protection of Public Rights, is challenging the power of the Independent National Electoral Commission to deploy the use of the electronic voting system without legislation by the National Assembly. According to the group, the electoral umpire cannot evoke an administrative fiat, and its actions are illegal, null and void. Our correspondent, Amaka Okafo, reports.
The suit filed by the Society for Advancement and Protection of Public Rights, seeking to restrain the Independent National Electoral Commission from using the permanent voters' cards and electronic card readers for the forthcoming polls on the grounds that they were likely to lead to the disenfranchisement of eligible voters, came up for mention at the Federal High Court, Abuja. However, the People's Democratic Party, the All Progressive Congress, General Muhammadu Buhari, and the Incorporated Trustees of Fiscal and Civil Rights Enlightenment Foundation sought to be joined as co-defendants with the Independent National Electoral Commission to oppose the suit. Lawyer to the litigants, who did not oppose their application for joinder, however wondered what injuries the suit will cause the various parties challenging the suit.
Probably, they know that what we are saying is correct. Probably, they don't want the law to be followed. I don't know why they joined, but we shall soon find out. Because if the provisions of the Electoral Act is to be strictly followed, certainly there's no provision for card reader.
On their part, the parties described the suit as a wild goose chase and have asked the court in their various applications to dismiss the suit in its entirety for lack of merit.
And by the rules of court, the plaintiff has a duty to amend its process to reflect the order joining all the parties that have now been joined. And when he does that, he will serve the defendants the new processes as amended.
The business of today was the application for joinder by Mohammed Buhari, the APC, the PDP, and other interest groups. And we are determined to oppose their case and put forward what INEC has already put in place as the electoral body and the only body competent to determine the type of mechanism it will adopt for an election.
The judge granted their application for joinder and joined them as parties in the suit. He also ordered the plaintiff to make the necessary adjustments to the suit and serve all parties. He adjourned the suit to the 18th of March for mention. Amaka Okafor, Channels Television News.
In part two after the break, a community in Edo State barricades entrance to the Benin City Electricity Distribution Company. We have details in a moment. Please join us again.